What's up, ladies and gents? I'm gonna give one more video this week. Well, not this week, but today, before we do the big live cast. I've been in the mood to do top 10 lists, ladies and gents, and to be quite honest, one of my favorite top 10 lists that I've ever compiled is my top 10 slasher movies. So, I'm a big fan of slasher movies, and I decided, I know that there are a bunch of horror fans out there who are big slasher fans. Why not turn it into a tag? If you guys don't know what tag videos are, tags are basically, I make a video, you watch the video as the viewer, and then you make your own response. So what you need to do, if you'd like to be involved in this, I'd like to sort of start some discussion. So what we're going to do is you're going to watch the video, and then if you like, comment below if you're going to do a response to it, and then later send me a link to it, or I'll be watching or something like that, and we can start talking about slasher movies. Now this tag is going to have 3 questions that I'm going to want you to answer, 2 official questions and 1 list. So let's go ahead and get started here. Question number 1. What's a slasher movie? To me, a slasher movie is sort of a dumbed-down version of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. A lot of people put Psycho as the first slasher movie, and I can't quite say that I agree with that. I think it's a little bit too cerebral to be an actual slasher, so I've decided, you know what, instead of making it a slasher movie, we'll call it a proto-slasher, we'll call it a psychological thriller, we'll call it a serial killer movie. Same thing with 13 Women from the 30s, and, what was it called? Peeping Tom, from the same era as Psycho. Actually, I think it came out a year earlier. But, yeah, those are going to be sort of your proto-slashers, and they're sort of the highbrow versions of it. The lowbrow versions are things like Halloween, Friday the 13th, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not saying that they're not still highbrow movies, it's just that when it comes to the psychological aspect of it, they're not quite there. Slasher movies can have psychology in it, but they can't have as much as Psycho. Psycho is built on the psychology of its killer, the craziness of it all. But then there's other stuff, like, Maniac, which is sort of psychological, but takes a lot of slasher cues, and it sort of blurs the line. But personally for me, I think that for the most part, it's got to be mostly just a guy in a mask killing people. And to me, it usually has to be sort of a claustrophobic kind of area. But there's a little room for interpretation, but I have pretty strict ideas on what is and what is not a slasher movie. So, those are sort of my ideas on it. As far as what's the next question, number 2 is, what is the original slasher movie? To me, it comes down to 2 that came out in the same year. The first one that came out that year was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It introduces the idea of a killer in a mask, also introduces the idea of, stumbling onto something, and then they're going to kill you. It's sort of that backwoods kind of thing. So with the backwoods stuff, that's where Texas Chainsaw begins. But after that, there was Black Christmas, which was, I'm coming to your house, so I'm going to kill you. And that was expanded upon further in Halloween, but I'm going to say that the 2 originals were probably Texas Chainsaw and Black Christmas. So, there you go with that. So, my third question is, what are your top 10 slasher movies? Now I'm going to go through these relatively quickly, talking about them just a little bit, but I'm going to go from 10 to 1, and I'd like you guys to do the same. So let's go. Number 10, Madman from 1982. It was the second of the slasher movies to be based on the Cropsey uh, mythos, an idea that was in New York and the Northeast um, during, the 1960s through like the 1980s, something around those times, based around some events that actually happened. But for the most part, Madman is a fictionalized version of the Cropsey legend, and it's just really good. I love the cinematography. The acting is really in here, but I really like the kills. I like a lot of the funny stuff that's in there. Some friends and I watched this recently and just thought it was a blast. So, hope you guys have seen this and enjoy it. It's a fantastic movie. Next, we have at number 9, The Burning. Some people would even consider this the perfect slasher movie. It's got the Tom Savini special effects, it's got great characters, got pretty good acting, a memorable killer, really great kills, great writing, dialogue, cinematography, direction. Everything is really good in this movie. But I still have to put it at my number 9 just for some sentimental reasons. Yet again, very good movie, very, very good movie, but I wouldn't really consider it the best. So, number 8 is going to be My Bloody Valentine. I'm a really big fan of this movie. I think it has everything that The Burning has, plus sort of, it's a little bit scarier than The Burning. It has some official, actual scares in it. It's got deep characters, it's got a love story, it's got a lot that will really, I think, appeal to a wider audience, not just regular slasher fans. But it's just a really great, great movie, and if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you come see it at some point. It is hard to find, though, on the on this actual edition, on the special edition, which has the never before seen uncut version. You should definitely check that out, though. It's a really, really good version of the movie, and definitely the superior version. Next, number 7, Sleepaway Camp, which I have a poster of right here. This is just a great, fun movie. It's just so fun and funny. It's got great characters. I think the direction's pretty good. I think some of the acting is really good. Some of the acting's really bad. But overall, it's just a really good, stereotypical camp slasher that has a really wild ending to it. This is also the unrated version, and it's got a bunch of great special features here on this Scream Factory edition. So you need to pick this up if you can. The sequels aren't bad either, but I forgot to mention, I'm not including sequels or remakes on this list. If I had sequels on here, it'd be a very different list, and it'd be much more confusing to make, but I think this is actually going to be, just the regular top 10 original slasher movies. So, but anyway, Sleepaway Camp, great movie, fantastic, very cool, and also I guess it's my first actual franchise movie on the list, besides My Bloody Valentine, which has had a remake. Next, we have Prom Night from 1980. Very, very great movie. This was one of my first slasher movies. I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street, which got me into horror, and then I watched Scream on television, and some other stuff, some Friday the 13th stuff, maybe Halloween, and then really as far as the ones that were a little bit lesser known, but still very revered, Prom Night. Really love this movie. Very good movie. This is a great edition of it. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, making her first appearance on the list. I think she'll be in here one more time. Really, really good movie, and I think probably next to Halloween, her best slasher movie. I know a lot of people have sort of love-hate relationship with Prom Night, but to me, Prom Night is an absolute classic, and I love it, and it's very, very good to me. Next, I'm going to have to show you a box set, because I don't have single copies of the movies on Blu-ray. I do have some on DVD, but I'd really prefer to just show this box set. The Friday the 13th box set comes in at number 5. Personally, I would say that 1 through 6 are equal. I think they're all great movies. But since we're just going with originals, the original also comes in at number 5. I would say all of them, even if I was doing sequels, would come in at number 5 anyway, combined into one big saga of movies. But great, great movie, the original. I really love it. I think that it's one of the funnest slashers to watch with your friends. It's got a great scene at the end. Everything is just so good with this movie. And it sort of blows the mind to realize that it's so hated among critics, especially at the time, and with parents and everything. But you can sort of see it because it was the opening to sort of gore movies. But anyway, yes, Friday the 13th, the original. It's a classic of the slasher genre, and I think anybody who's a horror fan needs particularly this box set in their collection. If you can't find it though, there's tons of other editions that are great that you can find. Not Divimax, but the deluxe editions by Paramount are really great. I have them right up here. Really, really good movies. Pretty much, the first 6 are all great, and the rest hit or miss. But the first 6, as I said, were fantastic, and the original I think is still probably the best. So there you go with that. And then we're really getting into a lot of stereotypical slashers now. But here's my number 4, what I consider to be the original slasher movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very great movie. This is a great copy of it. This is one of the movies that I can say legitimately continues to scare me every time I see it. It's fantastic. I would say it's probably my number 5 favorite horror movie ever. It's just so, so great. The cinematography is wonderful. The acting just seems so real. All the violence seems real. This movie just seems like a documentary on some people who went crazy and started to kill people. It's absolutely horrifying. And that's why I love it. It's just so great. I'll probably do individual reviews of all these slasher movies eventually, but right now, this right here is at my number 4 on the list. Such a wonderful movie. Number 3, I have to have it in this set. I don't have it any other way, but the original Nightmare on Elm Street right here. Very, very great movie. One of my first movies to really get me into horror. I'd say probably the first movie that was sort of horror that I watched was either Jaws or Gremlins. Thank you, Aunt Carol. But this is the first real, legit horror movie, and definitely the first slasher movie I ever watched. It was so great, so fun to watch. I love this movie. I still love it. It's my number 3 favorite horror movie, and actually, just to let you know right now, I think these, this and the next 2 are my 3 favorite horror movies, so probably spoilers for a future list on my favorite horror movies, but anyway. Nightmare on Elm Street, fantastic movie, really love it. I think it's great. I think that Robert Englund does a great job. So does, what's her name? Heather Langenkamp, she does a great job. Johnny Depp's first movie here, he does a good job as the jock. Amanda Weiss does great. There's so many great actors in this movie. And of course, wonderfully directed by the great Wes Craven, who I think is probably, as far as the big horror directors, I'd say that he's probably the king of slashers. At least he has made a few really good classics, including one of the sequels to this movie. He wrote part 3 right here, and he wrote and directed the 7th movie in this series, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 7. Well, you can't really say Part 7. It's just called Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but it's fantastic. And then, of course, he directed the number 2 on my list here, Scream. And I have it in this 5-film set. I also have just a regular original Scream copy, but I kind of like showing this off occasionally. Got this at Target for $5. Fantastic price, but great, great movie. I like all four movies. I know a lot of people give crap to, especially the third and fourth, but I'd have to say that I still love pretty much all of them. And they would probably show up on a top 100 horror movies video, to be honest, if I were to do that. I'd say that all four of them would eventually be there. But Scream is just a movie that I think is one of the most perfect ever made. It so very much just completes what it's supposed to do perfectly. It revives the slasher movie. It makes fun of it. It revels in what the slasher is. It's everything that I want in a self-aware movie. And everything I want in a horror comedy. So therefore, I would probably call it my favorite horror comedy as well. Just a great, great movie. I love it so much. And eventually I'll probably have to do a review on this series just because it's so important to me. Plus, it came out the year I was, the year after I was born. And it will be turning 20 years old this year, which is really, really cool, I think. And I will definitely have to do a live commentary on that and possibly a review of the whole series. But yeah, really, really love this movie. It's wonderful and just amazing. I love it. And what can you do but say my number one is the movie that made Scream into what Scream was. The original Halloween, and I have this big box set, which I absolutely love. It's so fantastic. I love this box set. It is my favorite thing that I own in my Blu-ray collection. I love the series. It's my favorite horror franchise. I love the original movie, my favorite horror movie. Some of my favorite horror sequels are here. Halloween 2 through 4, I think, are some of my greatest horror sequels there. It has one of the worst remakes, and definitely the worst sequel to a remake ever. It has one of the worst horror sequels ever as well in this box set, Halloween Resurrection. And it has one of the most interesting sequels out of any franchise, which is Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Halloween 6, the producer's cut in there, of course, and everything. But here we're really here to talk about the original. The original is so great, so wonderful, still scary. It is just wonderful, so suspenseful. Every time I watch it, I have more suspense. Well, not more suspense, but the same amount of suspense. It's so good. I just love, 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 love this movie. And to be quite honest, I think this is John Carpenter's masterpiece. It is, looking at Carpenter's filmography objectively, it's probably the thing. But looking at it through my own eyes, gotta be Halloween. It's definitely his most influential movie. And it is definitely it's one of the most influential movies of all time. I mean, look at the slasher boom of the 80s. It's entirely built on what Halloween did. Halloween became a success, and so they had to continue doing it with this series. And then, of course, it went on to do a fantastic series of horror movies itself. It's just wonderful. I love Halloween so much. And I'll probably, yet again, do a standalone review, excuse me as I put it down, of the Halloween franchise. It's so wonderful. I love it, and I'd say in 2018, if this channel's still around, if the Lord doesn't come home, we will be doing I think it's 40th anniversary of Halloween. We'll be doing a show on that, and we'll be doing a live commentary. We'll probably be doing live commentaries for the sequels. Actually, this year I'll probably do a live commentary on Halloween 2, because it is Halloween 2's birthday this year. It'll be 35 years old. So, ladies and gents, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope many people, or at least a few of you, even if it's just a few, I'd like to get some feedback on here. I'd like to get some people to do their own tag videos, their own top 10s, and just, if you've watched this movie, oh, not this movie, if you've watched this video, you're tagged, go ahead, go do your own slasher tag video, tag some other people, spread it around the internet. This is a wonderful, wonderful topic, I think, because slasher movies are just great. And, yeah, so, ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching. Rock on. If you like, subscribe. I will talk to you later. Bye.